Hey, I'm Annette here at Word on the Curb podcast. I'd like to welcome you all tonight. For those of you who are coming back, thank you for joining us. For those of you who will join us later, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. We're looking forward to this evening's discussion. We have a guest, a very special guest, who travels back and forth between states, but she does a lot of work, and that work includes things that would interest us. And so tonight, I want to introduce the one and only Mrs. April Dixon. And I'm going to start off by thanking my producers, Frank and Christina Sasso. Thank you very much to every small entrepreneur. Keep going. Remember, together we can. Working together, you go far. Remember that. Use your network. Use your family and friends to help you network. But building a network is, in fact, job one. All right, let's get it, y'all. Hey, April.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good, good. It's great to have you here tonight. Could you give us a quick overview of how the child support process works and who it's intended to help?
Okay, so the child support process works in such a way where either the custodial parent, who is the person that's receiving the support, or a non-custodial parent, files an application in family court to get either pay or receive child support, and it's beneficial to both the NCPs, non-custodial parents, or the obligors, as we call them, or the custodial parents. Sometimes the non-custodial parents want to have a track record of the payments that they're making, so they want to have it go through court, or sometimes they don't want to have it go through court, and that is optional. So it benefits those who are seeking child support on both ends.
I want to remind my audience to drink water, hydrate, eat fruit, moisturize your feet, hands, and face, and mind your business. Now, here we go. April, in
Yes.
my world, where I come from, I'd much rather the child support system did not have to exist,
Hmm.
but it exists for a reason.
Right.
And oftentimes people misunderstand what child support is really all about. They get
Hmm.
tied up in she shouldn't be spending it or he shouldn't be spending my money to do A, B, C, D, and E. Hey, listen, if you were there, you'd be participating in the process, whether you're the father or the mother. And the fact
Hmm.
that you're not, and the custodial parent, mother or father, has to go to court to even get child support. That's where the first problem begins because both men and women tend to let their emotions guide them when it comes to support for their children, and that's where the fight happens. So,
Right.
you told us who it's intended to help, either or, but
Hmm.
more than that, the child, right?
Right. Absolutely.
It's all about the child. So, what are the biggest? Wait a minute, you have an ebook coming out.
Yes, I do.
Want to tell us a little bit about that before we move to our next question?
So the ebook is how to help people who are in child support. So it helps on both spectrums, the custodial parent and the non-custodial parent. People ask me all the time, who do you help? Do you help the people receiving or the people paying? I'm impartial, so I help everyone. So the book
Okay.
is about helping you navigate through the child support system and giving you ins and outs, because I've been in child support for over 19 years.
And navigating is the key. So
Right.
that's what the book is all about. What's the name of the book?
It's going to be entitled Child Support 101.
Wow, I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that. And
Right.
when do you expect the release date?
I expect it to be released within the next month.
Okay. All right. Ebooks are fun. I have one.
Okay. They're easy to
Not
read
published
too.
yet. Not published yet, but I
Okay.
have one.
Okay.
I have a tendency to write books and then not publish them. Go figure. I think it's the writing that's therapy for me. It's therapeutic. So go
Yeah.
figure. So, my second question to you is, what are the biggest misconceptions that people have about child support, and what would you do to clarify it? For example, when a
Mhm.
man goes on child support, he thinks she's out to get him. She
Mhm.
may very well be, but that's personal between you and her.
Mhm.
Or she may think he's out to get her. Again, that's personal. Child support is about the child. So help us out. Tell us what some of the
Right.
misconceptions are.
Right. So sometimes people think that, okay, well, she filed for child support. She just wants to get my money. No, it's to take care of your child or your children. So that way they can be taken care of in the household. And like you said, sometimes people say that the obligors of payer say, well, she's spending money on her nails and everything else and, whatever. So if you see
Yeah.
that your child is being taken care of and she already has income herself, then it doesn't matter, what she does with her money, as long as her children are being taken care of, or the child, because she has to keep a roof over their head, food in their bellies, okay, and clothes on their back. So,
Yeah.
the misconception can be, with, like I said, with the obligors, well, she's trying to take all my money. Well, if you can't afford it, then you can file an application in family court to see if you qualify for a reduction. That's one
What
thing.
is an abogor?
An obligor is the non-custodial parent. That's another terminology, because so when you immediately hear custodial parent or non-custodial parent, you might think, oh, she has all the rights, or she has custody and I don't have custody, because people, they can have joint custody, but for
Okay.
simplicity reasons, the courts have labeled it the custodial parent as the person receiving the child support, and the non-custodial parent as the person paying child support. So the obligor is the same person as the NCP or non-custodial parent, and the obligee, the person receiving the support, is the
Mhm.
custodial parent.
The obligor. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like a
Yeah.
payor,
Got it.
payee.
Got it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God that's never been an issue for me. But hey, again,
Sometimes,
I wish.
again, sometimes people could go ahead and work their things out, outside of court or whatever, or
Right.
be fortunate to not even have to go through the system, have a two-parent household and things like that. But then you have sometimes where you have to go to court, unfortunately.
And that is unfortunate because, again,
Mhm.
I wish child support court didn't exist. It didn't have to exist, that there would be no need for it. But that's
Okay.
my wishful thinking. It
Mhm.
seems to me that no matter who the custodial parent is, the non custodial parent will want to support. That's number one.
Right.
And
Right.
number two, I want everybody to get out of the frame of thinking that they were tricked
Right.
into having a child.
Right.
So,
You have a
so let's talk
choice.
about that a little bit because that happens a lot. She tricked
Hmm.
me. Really?
Right.
If you didn't want kids, if you didn't want children, not kids, but children, what
Hmm.
did you do to prevent that?
Two participants.
Two participants. And so people
Mhm.
have to stop all of this nonsense and just
Right.
simply start taking responsibility for their
Right.
children. And I don't care who it is. And for the grandparents out here, you have my love. You
Mm.
have my best wishes because if I had to take care of my grandson, I'd do whatever I needed to do to get it
Right.
done.
Right.
Right? So I get it. And that's usually the case for most grandparents who
Mm.
end up in a custodial, non-custodial
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of misconceptions about child support. They're
Right.
tricked
Right.
me. They're out to get me.
Right.
They only listen to her. You don't show up to court, dude.
Well, check
You
this
don't
out.
show up to
Then
court.
sometimes in that you might have where the non-custodial parent, custodial parent have an agreement outside of court and everything is
Mhm.
fine, but he gets into a relationship with someone else, and now the custodial parent wants to go down to the court. Oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and make him pay more money, or I'm having him go through the system. I suggest to people, if you don't have to go through the system, don't, because it can affect a person's livelihood seriously. Passports, tax offset, lottery winnings, everything. Your bank accounts, liens, levies. There's so much.
And so pay your child support. It's real simple.
Right.
There's no such thing as giving a custodial parent, male or female, too much money for your child. There's no
You
such
know what?
thing.
Sometimes though, in that what happens is if a person, even at the start of an order, when a person gets in arrears, it's because the court's backdated from when the person filed, and then sometimes people lie in court saying that they didn't get any money from the person that was paying when in fact they did. That's why I tell people, keep receipts. If you want to pay someone, make sure you have a track record. Do not pay cash because you don't have
Repeat
a
that.
track record with that.
Repeat that, please.
Yes,
Because
do
a
not
lot
pay
of people,
cash unless the only way you pay cash if you go down to that courthouse to make a cash payment and they give you a record of it. But don't put cash in someone else's hand because that is considered a gift and there is no track record of that.
write a check, get a money order,
Right,
child
right,
support,
right,
right?
right,
Male or female. We have
mm-hmm,
no bias in this. We simply want
right,
the child to be taken care of.
mm-hmm,
And listen, for the fellas, here's how I'm going to break it down for you. Get off of that she tricked me business, because here's what you have
right.
a tendency to do. You show up at the club, you shoot the entire club up with no mask on, and then you have a problem when you're identified. Knock it off. All right. Our next one. April's laughing. She know. Am I telling the truth?
All right.
Am I telling the truth? You shoot the club up and then go, oh, but it wasn't me. You didn't have a mask on, dude.
Right,
Okay?
right.
Yeah, it was you. Stop it.
Or they
What's the,
depend on someone else to go ahead and have, protection and everything else. You can't do that.
you know what I'm also going to suggest? And I'm probably going to get beat up for this, but I can handle it. Every child should have a DNA test at birth. Stop all that
So
nonsense.
too. I
Yeah,
think so too.
yeah. And
One instance. I'm just gonna tell you one instance that I saw when I used to work for the court, where this woman, she had to have 5 different guys DNA tested because she didn't know who the father of her child was. Because she was collecting welfare, so what she got on welfare, and that's how they opened the child support order. Of course, and it turned out that 5 guys were tested, and none of them were the father. It was sad.
so listen. The same way the guys go in the club and shoot up with no mask and then
Mm,
claim it's not them,
mm,
ladies, stop.
right, right.
I think legislators ought to put in place mandatory DNA testing at birth. And unfortunately, it's something that needs to be legislated because nobody's going to volunteer,
No.
right? Maybe, listen, it will prevent a lot of heartache.
Mm-hmm.
It will prevent children being misled, believing that somebody's their parent and they
Right.
actually are not.
Mm-hmm.
And once DNA is established, you can voluntarily set up your child support or opt to go through the courts. Whatever works.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's best to do it voluntarily. You actually
Right.
get more money that way.
Right.
Especially when the non-custodial parent, male or female, is willing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to pay attention, to
Mm-hmm.
those types of things, because they shooting up clubs and y'all making accusations about them being in the club and they weren't even in the state. Ladies, stop. Child support. I'm telling you, it's just drama. And it's only
It
drama
is.
because we don't think about our children first. We think about our emotions, and it
Mm-hmm.
gets in the way. You
Mm-hmm.
shooting up the club with no mask. She claiming that you're in a state you never been in,
Mm-hmm.
and giving you a baby that couldn't possibly be yours. DNA mandatory testing at birth. Y'all can come for me on the next podcast because that may very
I
well be
think
the
that's a great
topic.
suggestion. I
Mandatory
mean,
DNA. I
yeah,
don't care who it
right.
is.
I think it's great, and
Right?
unless the father is willing to admit, he knows what beyond a shadow of a doubt, listen, that she's the only person that I've been with, or I'm the only person you've been, whatever. So if you willingly want to do that, fine, But yeah, I think
She
that's a good
might be the
idea.
only person he's been with, but he may not be the only person she's been with. And
Mm,
that's how he was in another state and it
mm,
happens.
mm.
Men are taken to court for child support, and until they get a DNA test, nobody knows for sure. And
Right,
because so often DNA tests reveal that you weren't sure, mother,
right.
mandatory for them. And then once the DNA test is complete and it's positive for the non-custodial parent,
Mm-hmm.
we should consider voluntary child support, where they sign a voluntary order with the court. And if they
Mm-hmm.
violate twice, then they go back to court and it's mandatory after that. I think that's a fair chance for everybody. What do you think
Right.
as a child
Right.
support liaison?
So I think that it, like I said, it's better out of court, where you could pay the custodial parent directly. That way, you create a better relationship between the parties, is for the sake of the child, and
Yeah,
for the sake of the non-custodial parent not having to go through the system, with everything that's going on. Like I said, with the enforcement measures that they have. However, if that's not applicable, and they give a rah-rah to the other party, like, oh, I'm not paying you, or you were with such and such, or you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then by all means it has to go through court. Sorry.
we're sick of y'all fighting about this. That's the
Right,
point.
right,
We're sick of y'all fighting about it because we ain't fighting about it. We're sick of you fighting about it.
right.
A child needs to know who their parent is for a number of
Absolutely.
reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestry, if nothing else,
Mm-hmm.
and also for medical reasons. A child
Yes.
has a right to know their grandparents, their
Yes.
cousins. Then you know how much incest happens because people don't know who they're
They
related
don't
to,
know who their family is. Right. Agreed.
especially in a small place like Trenton,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
in a small place in the South, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We want y'all to stop creating fathers and denying mothers when you shot up the whole club. All right? That's all we're asking. We're not asking for much.
Right.
You know what you're doing. And so let's talk a little bit about what steps can parents take to unlock or access child support if they're experiencing delays or obstacles, because that happens too. And then the non custodial parent suffers. So, what can they do to unlock the system, April?
Okay, so you could do a couple of things. So you can either go into the courthouse, whatever county you live in, the 21 counties in the state of New Jersey, or you can go to you can contact the child support call center. I strongly discourage calling the 877 NJ Kids 1, because they're not court staff and they can give erroneous information as they have done in the past. So I'm going to give a telephone number for the place that I used to work at, for the administrative office of the courts, and their number is 609-815-3820. And that is the administrative office. What they can do is look at your case. They can give you insight on your case, and they have to send a referral over to your caseworker for you to get a call back in regards to enforcement. Then that's something that they can do. Or they can refer you to the different departments. Say if you have a passport denial or a levy or anything that's on your child support case as far as enforcement measures, they can transfer you or send a referral to that department, and they can call you back within a couple of business days.
Now, how cool is that? We invited April here tonight because she has this information. And when the podcast is over, go to the comments, find April. You'll find information about her book. You'll find this number, and you'll find her information to contact her if you'd like to hire her as a liaison. This is a business for April. She's here today because I asked her to be. I know how important child support is, and I wanted to give you guys, male and female, some information about child support. So she's told you how to unlock it and what to do when you're experiencing delays or obstacles. That's
Mm-hmm.
also going to be in the comments. You can come back to the podcast comments at Word on the Curb podcast on Facebook in the comments section, and you'll find April, her ebook, the phone number to call when you're experiencing difficulties, okay, and her contact information if you'd like to hire her. And so let's move forward. We have a final question. And that question is, how does child support enforcement work? And what options exist for parents who aren't receiving the support owed to them? I think you've answered that in the question before, but go ahead and elaborate, please.
So how enforcement works? Enforcement can work in a quite a few ways. Enforcement of payments or enforcement of medical care. Enforcement is applicable to the non-custodial parent,
Okay.
not the custodial parent, because the custodial parent is receiving the child support or the health care. But in reference to enforcement of, say, well, I'm not going to call them enforcement, modifications, you can easily contact the family court for motions, modifications, or you can contact me for my assistance with that. And that's how you can get a modification on the order if the obligee isn't complying with certain things. But enforcement works in such a way where the courts have measures to enforce payments from the obligors. And that's, like I said, the standard enforcement remedies are tax offset, arrears repay, unfortunately, warrants if you don't appear at an enforcement hearing, enforcement hearings, levies, passport denial. Is a plethora of things that that the courts have for enforcement.
So that's great information. And again, you can find her contact information if you want to hire April in the comments section at Word on the Curb podcast on Facebook. But here's another question.
Okay.
So, and I'm going to, wrap this up because we're 22 minutes in. I want to
Okay.
wrap it up. Most people don't understand that with the right guidance, they can navigate child support effectively,
Right.
right? And that's where you come in at.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a child support strategist and liaison, what would be your final words to our audience tonight? What do you want them to know? Out of everything we discussed, what's
Mm-hmm.
most important? Know your rights, dial the number, have a liaison. I mean, what is it?
So know your information. Okay, so I believe knowledge is power, and with knowledge we could create a stronger community, okay, that can be beneficial to both the custodial parents, non-custodial parents, and the children, who it mostly impacts the child support. And
Okay.
if you know the facts, okay, and if you know how to navigate through certain things, and if you have a liaison like myself that can guide you through certain things, not give legal advice because I'm not an attorney, but I can
Right.
guide you through certain things. I'm knowing the ins and outs of child support. That's
Mm-hmm.
important, and that's where knowledge comes in at.
So I really want to thank you for being here this evening. Hey, Frank and Christina Sasso, I want you to weigh in on this podcast in the comments because child support is, they're my producers. It's such a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big issue. And it's the most misunderstood issue. I can't tell you how many times I've been conversing with folks who have been tagged for child support, and they start whining,
Mm,
male or female. And my
mm.
first question is, why are you even on child support to begin with?
Right,
You don't have to be.
right.
A court ordered child support is not mandatory. So, non custodial parents, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay, April, you're going to wrap it up for us. Give us some final words and we'll move on.
Okay, so I want to thank Annette for having me. Love her. She's
Happy to.
very dear to me. And I just want people to know that there is hope, that child support is not a difficult situation. It makes it difficult if you don't want to cooperate. Okay, cooperation is the key. And, with this, through this, you can get through this. Okay, you just have to know your facts and get the proper help. Contact me for assistance with anything that you need with your child support case, and I can guide you. I give free 15-minute consultations as well. So I don't want to waste people's time, because if it's something that I can help you with, I'm going to help you with. If
Mm,
it's something that I can't, I'm going to guide you as to where you should go.
absolutely. Because again, you're not a lawyer, you are a
Right,
strategist and a
right,
liaison. And there's a big
right.
difference in that. And so I want you to take a look at April because, quite frankly, does child support demand DNA if you get to the
So
courts?
when you go, so it's not mandatory. The NCP father can ask for a DNA test. Yes.
I would recommend that every man that gets to child support court ask for a DNA test. It
And
doesn't
what
cost them
happens is,
anything.
if the child is deemed to be theirs, then they just have to pay for the DNA test. And if they are not the father, I believe that they are not responsible for the DNA test. But yes, I would suggest a DNA test also, because I've seen a lot of situations where people have paid for child support for others for years, and it's not their child.
Once you sign that birth certificate,
Right,
the judge doesn't want to hear too much. So
right,
make sure you know your rights, you know what you're doing.
right.
And listen, a lot of women are going to fight this DNA thing. I'm going to tell you that right now. And not because they're guilty of anything, but because in their hearts they actually know. But for those who
Mm,
don't, get the DNA test. April, I want to thank you for joining us here today at Word on a Curve podcast. Again, I'm Annette, I'm your host, and you have given us phenomenal information tonight. Thank you. I'd like to bring you
thank
back
you.
again so that we can delve a little bit deeper into child support and just pick one subject. I'm going to ask the audience, I'm going to ask you to consider going to the comments and telling us so that April knows. First of all, you're going to find her information there about her ebook. You're going to find her contact information there to hire her as a liaison. She's already told you she gives you 15 minutes free consultation to ensure that you're a right fit for the strategist conference and the liaison information, and you'll know how to contact her. So, know your rights. DNA tests are very important. Ladies, very important. It
Right,
settles. You're trying to hide something, that's your
right.
problem. Child support and the best interest of the child
Of the child.
is concerned. So, do your thing, do your thing. April, thank you for joining us there this evening. I want to bid you all a good night. I want to send you to the comments. April is going to go to those comments directly after this podcast to put the information in that you would need to contact her about her ebook. And you're going to go to the comments, whether you're now or later, because April will be checking back to ask what you would like her to chat about next. We'll see you again
Mhm.
soon. April, thank you for joining us.
Thank
We appreciate
you.
it. Good night.
Good night.
Hold on, April. Don't go.